welcome back to Last Week Chopped Up. I'm here with my boy Jeremy, joining me from Los Angeles, California, and I'm sitting out here actually now in Arnhem in the Netherlands because we're just staying deeper in the Netherlands, Jeremy. That's how we're doing our life. But
let's pretend that anyone knows where that is without Googling it.
Nah, you don't know where it is. It's on the Dutch-German border. But I mean, do you know? Off the top of your head, can you name another city in the Netherlands besides Amsterdam? Off the dome?
Is Rotterdam in
Rotterdam?
the Netherlands?
Rotterdam.
Okay,
you got
one.
it. Got
Boom,
it.
me in there.
Got it. The Hague also might be one that you know. But yeah, no, I'm not expecting the American audience to know those the 12th biggest city in the Netherlands. But we're out here. But we got to get you out
I
here.
don't know the 12th biggest city in California at all. I don't know, Bakersfield
Probably,
or something?
yeah,
maybe.
You could probably get there. You could probably get there, but it's not like you know much about it, right? And yeah, there's more than twice as many people in California than the whole country of the Netherlands. So yeah, it's fair enough. But yeah, no, I see you out here. If you came out here, so now I see if you're on the podcast, Jeremy's got you look a little bit like Tyrann Mathieu, like the honey badger. With you got the braids and you got him dyed.
Wait! Did you say Matt too?
How do you say his name?
Tyrann Mathieu, dog.
Matthew.
What you talking about?
I'm in Europe, man. I'm trying to.
You've been in Europe too long over here. You French or something now? Tyrann Mathieu.
I don't know why I said it like that. I don't know why I said it like that. I mean. I don't know.
But yeah, you're right. I got a little color in the hair.
Yeah.
Decided to mix it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Grown man trying some random things and this year or two of weird life.
Oh,
so
man.
Why not? Got a little brown or orange. I'm not exactly sure what color it is.
It looks cool to me. It looks cool to me. I messed up the whole intro with it. Yeah, no, oh man, that was a rough pronunciation of the man. Oh man.
Oh yeah, you definitely need to report back to Lissa. She needs to give you a firm finger wag like we Americans know how to say football players' names.
Yeah,
or we can have a very interesting Key and Peele episode. I don't know if you remember when they used to do the naming
Tyrone,
the random
tractor
football
noise.
player names.
Yeah.
Yes. Tyrann Mathieu.
That's one of the ones. So I just recently watched that the last 30 days because I told her about the dude that played football whose name is DeBrickashaw Ferguson, and she's like, "There's no way his name is DeBrickashaw Ferguson." And I'm like, "Oh, it's this Key and Peele sketch," and we're watching it. And Liz, I hope she doesn't mind me saying this. She's like, it's pretty funny, and she's like, "Hey, is it racist for me to laugh at this?" I'm like, I don't think so, but I think that's kind of the point, is to push you to feel that way, right, and feel uncomfortable.
It's like they put it on the show,
Yeah,
but. So here's one for you to blow her mind again.
All right.
Tell her about Lil Jordan Humphrey, and his first name is Lil Jordan. That is this man's first name. So, I don't know if you were aware of that.
I was not.
But blow Lissa's mind. If she thought the Brickashaw was out there, Lil Jordan. Even that blew my mind. I was like, is this real life or am I watching Key and Peele? I'm not sure.
Dude, I remember the Packers had a strong safety. I don't know if he's still playing. Clinton Dix. I'm like,
yes, I remember.
Yeah, just
he played at Alabama, right?
Yeah. And on Monday Night Football, they're always like, his name comes from his grandma. He always loved to laugh as a kid. I'm like, you can tell me any backstory you want, but I couldn't imagine being in a meeting and be like, hey, a new joiner, his name is and he's not Chinese or anything. That's just straight up he just laughed a lot as a kid, and that's how we're rolling lifetime, but more power to him, it's definitely, Clinton Dix was DeBrickashaw Ferguson, my number one favorite NFL name, but Clinton Dix is a close second.
Yeah, it's up there. And is one, you're like, so is this a nickname? And that's fine, but I need you to clearly state because I need to know your mama didn't push you out and go, no, that's gonna be his name.
No, I'm gonna need to see that birth certificate. We talk about birther. I'm gonna need to see some of these birth certificates on that one, because you can tell me that story about grandma was laughing, but it could be that you just named your kid which is cool by me, but cop to it. Cop to it.
One was like, what's your actual name? Okay, your real name's Romeo or John or something. Cool. Just let me know you have a name. I will
Yeah.
call you haha.
I'll,
But again, I need to make sure your mama and daddy didn't
yeah.
on day 2 say call my guy haha right there.
Who do I make this check out to? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yes.
yeah, like
It's
who?
like we
Yeah,
need to deposit this.
yeah,
What's the name you put on
yeah.
things?
Let me ask you this way, you know. But yeah, no, I remember he was a real good player too.
Oh yeah, I think what was he, a safety or
Yeah,
something?
strong safety. I think. Yeah, kind of in the box
Yeah,
safety,
yeah.
kind of tough guy, but definitely, yeah. To me, like, yeah, names. I can't believe I slaughtered. I mean, to me, if I see that name now, I'm like, but that it's Metu, you know, like it, you know, you kind of, because you're out here, you can't be too American when you're out here, man. They already are kind of thinking that, you know, Americans are provincial in the country and all this sort of stuff. So I'm trying, you know, I try to up my game when I talk to folks out here, but now I'm on the pod with you and you're just clowning me, which is fair enough. I'll tell Alyssa, she won't know the player, but if I show the name, she'll be like, okay, now
Yeah.
you completely, you know, you're like an F1 and you're all this stuff and, you know, you're too Euro'd out, but
it's like bring it back in.
Bring it.
Next thing you do, you're going to give me the dynamics of Ronaldo and not going to Man City, but being more likely to go to United. And what's my man, the black guy
Mbappe,
who made Mbappe's bids not going through. I was like, all right, man. I know you like soccer and all, but cool. I need you to bring it to pull out a little bit.
yeah, it's cool. But I like how you were like the black guy, and I'm like Mbappe. I'm like, I know who you're talking about. I mean, you're talking about the biggest teams and stuff, but you're just like French black guy. I'm like, there's 10 million French black guys, but you're talking about Mbappe. You're not talking about Tony Parker. You're like, not, you know, like.
Oh yeah, it's like you know what I'm talking about.
You know what I'm talking about.
And I'm not talking about Rudy Gobert.
No. I like how I'm sure you've had this where it's like, in America especially, it's the same thing out here, is like you'll be describing someone and it's like there's 10 people there and there's one black person in the crew and it's like, you know, the dude that likes kayaking. I'm like, I don't know who likes kayaking. You know, the guy that his wife does this. I'm like, is it the black guy? You know, because you can just say it's the black guy. It's not racist just to say it's the black. But have you ever had that interaction where someone's like contorting to not say it's or any race? You know, it's just like contorting to be like, that doesn't make you racist. You know, like
I get I for sure get that. I'm like, the black dude. I'm like, you can say the black man because that's what he is. You know, you're a white guy.
Yeah.
I have no problem saying that. Like, it's all good. It's like, but just say the black guy if there are anything in your heart make you want to say more than the black guy. We got another conversation, but yeah, that's fine. No big deal. Like, I know we're in a PC world now, but I was like, if you're around me, I'm like, oh, the black guy. I was like, now, what is interesting is when you have like a group of folks and they have the same name. So, perfect example, I have learned at one point, some group of friends, like, I was Black Jeremy and there's a white Jeremy.
Okay.
I was like,
Okay.
Okay. I was like, actually, I need to sit with this for a minute. I'm not saying this is messed up, but I do need to sit with it before I make a decision. I was like, you know what? Okay with that. But it has to be used in the context of, they know both Jeremys.
Yeah. It can't just be, you know, it can't be one.
Just saying Jeremy doesn't make it easy which one you're referring to.
No.
So I was like, yes, we could do last names, but I get it. Sometimes, you know, everyone doesn't know everyone's last name. I'm like, but if it's you don't know both Jeremy's situation, not okay.
No. I mean, I feel like also though, if the other guy's not going by white Jeremy, I also kind of think that's a problem. It's got to be white.
Oh yeah, like he can't be Jeremy and I'm Black Jeremy. That don't work out.
No, that's not cool. That's like can't be base Jeremy and Black Jeremy, or vice versa. Like it's like, hey, we're just gonna go color coded at this point. Like that's fine. But you know, it's like
as long as we're equally defined by how much melanin we have and our first names our mothers gave us, cool. Yeah. But we both got to have that.
Yeah. Now, I remember in my graduate school class, there were like 4 dudes named Michael. I mean, you met like half these. You met all of them. I mean, one used the N-word with you. You remember Michael Bauer, you know, Bauer. And he...
Yeah.
So there's 4 Mikes. We're in the class. And like the second day, we're like, look, we're going to call you Bauer, you know? And he's like, in Germany, it's not appropriate to call someone by their last name. Like, I find it kind of a little bit offensive. And maybe it wasn't the right response because I'm woker now. I'd be like, hey, if that's offensive to you, I won't do it. But back when I was 22, we were like, nah, you bower. Sorry, buddy.
Yeah, it's like I don't care, bro.
Yeah, but the thing was, is no one. How we explained it to him was the same concept. We're like, look, nobody's Mike. Nobody gets their preferred name. Everybody is getting. There'll be Fudge. There'll be whatever. There'll be Bauer. Everybody's getting a nickname. There's no default Mike here. So everybody, you're with everybody else. But I could feel his pain if it's like, well, if there's one guy, the American guy gets to be called by his name. No, it's not what it is. But now, after like 2-3 years, 20 years later, everybody knows him exclusively by this name. But yeah, no, I feel you. Black.
Yeah. Like I forgot his first name was Mike. To be honest,
no, I doubt you even knew his first name. I doubt you even knew his first name. You know what I'm saying? But like, and he listens to the pod sometimes. He'll probably be like, "Why you put my full name on blast?" But like, don't worry,
right?
Nobody listens. You know.
You know him? Do they still live in Germany?
Yeah,
I haven't talked to them.
They live in
bit.
Hamburg. Yeah, they live in Hamburg. So they
yeah, there. All right, yeah, because I remember he moved there to teach, and yeah. Now I'm like, I need to get him my WhatsApp, hit him up, like, hey man, sorry, it's been a while.
Yeah, you got name checked on the hottest multi something podcast going out there, but
right? Like up to 50 people might know this conversation.
For sure. But yeah, Black Jeremy. But the thing is though, like, are they calling you that? Are you hearing that? Are you?
No, that is not said in my presence. And that's another thing that makes me sure I'm like, y'all call him White Jeremy, right?
Yeah.
Because if you call me Black Jeremy while I'm here, I'm gonna immediately say, don't say that.
That's the thing. Is like I feel like I've known. There's also a rule which is you don't call someone you wouldn't call to their face. Like, I mean, like I wouldn't call you Black Jeremy to your face. I mean, like you're just
right. I'm like there's no way I'll let that ride. But
area.
So I get I know multiple Jeremys, and maybe I should be like, y'all should go last name. Maybe I should be like, last name this. Tell my whole name.
Yeah.
You know. But I will tell you, when I first saw, I'm like, Black Jeremy. I was like, to sit on this because I know you. You're like we're friends. Yeah. We're cool. Like we're cool. I know you ain't you got no intent behind this one, but that feels a type of way.
It's like is that the best you can do? You know what I mean? It's like is that was that your first idea?
Could I not be?
It's like
funny, Jeremy?
Yeah, exactly.
Can we think of another adjective to put in front of that?
Yeah, they're like likes urban music, Jeremy.
Yeah, wink.
Yeah, that's like I don't know, man. Sometimes that cracks me up, but like I don't. So there's been a lot going on that I want to dig into. We got some awesome tech news to talk about. It's culture wars for Americans going back to school with their kids, and I'm reading about, which is just wild. I will say this is one where like all over the world, at least in the Northern Hemisphere, kids are going back to school, and it's really only a culture war in America. Like it's just depressing me. Like, how are you feeling about this? It's just like the kids are in the center of this mess.
So, I mean, I think we talked about it before, like we're going to have COVID around. Yeah. This is, like it's really going to be at this point we're trying to figure out, is this going to be another flu or is this going to be something that eventually vaccines make go away? Right. Like we don't worry about Bella, right? Because you got to get the MMR most of the time, right? There's just some diseases that don't exist anymore. But to me, what has been weird is like, so much is based on your locality, right? Mm-hmm. Like one, obviously, there's no like federal policy, right? You can't mandate that every school system does X, Y, Z. It's very much state-based and even state-based and county restrictions, right? But to me, what's been so crazy is all the I say mostly 100% Republican governors being like, I'm going to make it so you can't have a mask mandate at a school. And I'm like, what's the upside in this? Like, who wins? And to me, when people do talk about protecting the kids, it's like, all right, mask mandate, 1, and 2, if you want to teach or be at this school, you got to be vaccinated. Like these children cannot get the vaccine yet. So, and I think what most of the parents who want their kids to go whatever and not wear masks, they don't fully comprehend that, like, you know what, your kid probably can get COVID and probably will be okay, but you're unvaccinated and that kid can give COVID to you.
For sure. For
you
sure.
know, and you will have much more problems. So actually, the policies people are trying to set up are more to help you back at home
Yeah.
than the kid, right? And I was like, what are y'all doing? Like, I just don't get it. I've seen a few articles or videos where parents are like, oh, actually, my kid, is cool with having the mask. Like, my kid thinks he's a ninja with the mask on, or thinks, he's
Yeah.
whatever, something from a TV show. I'm like, yeah, I imagine most kids don't care. It's like
No.
kids get told, you need to do this. They can disagree or not disagree, be like, I don't care, eat your peas, wear this
Yeah,
mask,
exactly.
go to sleep at 7. Like,
Yeah.
that's a child.
Yeah, exactly.
You kind of tell them how to live their life. And it's one of those like, oh, you realize like, oh, parent, you're trying to project whatever you wants to do or the image in your head on this child. That doesn't matter. If you just say wear a mask, go to school, they're like, all right, cool. Like, that's what I got to do. Fine.
Oh.
So it's been real weird, man. And like the Florida numbers specifically have been real wild, and just seeing like, oh, we're at the highest most people in hospitals, most people in ICUs ever. And I'm like, yo, we're at higher numbers than before we had vaccines. Like, this is crazy.
It to me, it's like with some of this stuff with these Republican governors, like, remember that Supreme Court case about the bakers that did not want to make a cake for a gay couple?
Yeah.
And the Republicans came out and said, hey, businesses got to be able to make decisions on who they serve, and they need freedom to operate. Basically, it's a pro-business argument that I get to make decisions, and it's a bit of a freedom of religion type thing. But regardless, ultimately, it came down to like a business should be able to make a decision what customers they serve. And then you see that, okay, great, fine. I disagree with that. I think they should have had to make the cake, but I can kind of understand both arguments there. Honestly, I'm not a huge, like, that case wasn't a huge one for me. But then you say, well, hey, if you allow masks at your place of at HEB, at the supermarket, we're going to pull your right to sell liquor. You're like, hold on a second. What happened to businesses making decisions for themselves? What happened to businesses optimizing and the whole Republican dream until it conflicted with some culture war? To me, that's like just terribly inconsistent to limit what businesses can do in this case, where it's like, clearly it's like, Delta Airlines doesn't want you to get on the plane and get sick. HEB doesn't want you to go to the store and get sick. Like, it's not, they're not doing it for some cultural war reason. They're doing it so they can run their business.
Yeah, like, to me, I think it's one where a lot of Republican ideals of 5 years ago, you're like, okay, yeah, let's have a carbon tax, or we can figure out a way to charge for this. And now, oh, that's a terrible idea. It's like, wait, 5 years ago, y'all were totally like business dynamics. Go decide how much you want to change the way you work to reduce your carbon output or buy carbon offsets. Okay, as a business, decide. And now it's like, that's a crazy idea. And it's like, this was your idea. Why are you so against this now?
I don't understand. States' rights with marijuana, states' rights. It's the same thing.
Yeah, I'm totally with you, because like, even if we go back to that gay case you mentioned, like, to me, in my head, obviously being a black man, I think, okay, well, you say religious reasons you don't want to start this gay couple. I'm like, will you say religious? Maybe I don't want to make this black and white couple cake, topper.
Absolutely.
Right? Like, what's the line on religious reasons? I'm not saying, just because you make a cake shop, you gotta, maybe make a sex doll. You're like, but you can easily put a man and a man on the top of this cake.
Yeah.
Like,
exactly.
you got a million man figurines, I'm sure, in the back. You can put 2 on there. And to me, that's where it's harder to be like, hey, you got choice, right? Or like, oh, I respect your religious beliefs. And it's like, yo, if we're talking about what you want to do in your church, cool. If you want to run a business, nah. Like,
no.
It is not, unless, I mean, maybe if you're a very specific religious, some sort of business, maybe, and you're like, we're a specialty shop of just this one thing, maybe I can get that. But if you're just like, yo, we make cakes, I'm like, oh, you got to make that gay couple's cake.
Yeah.
Oh.
But specialty businesses are allowed to discriminate. You can set up a yoga studio just for women, because women want to feel more comfortable with each other. You can set up a couple's holiday place just for couples. You can't bring kids, right? Like, there's so many ways, because to your point, it's like a core part of the experience is like some form where, like, okay, having men here would disrupt the experience because you're in certain clothing or whatever. Okay, no one disputes that. But like you said, Making a cake, it's not a core part of the experience with the figurines on top. I'm 100% with you that that felt discriminatory, and I was 100% on the side that they should have had to make that cake. But if you're against them making that cake, for that's not even for a for-profit reason. They're giving up profit to do that. If you're saying businesses can make decisions based on their beliefs, whether they're religious or otherwise, and not even for profit, then how could you not say, well, if you're a store, you can require a mask if you want to because you believe in freaking epidemiology. You know what I mean?
Or not
Like,
even that. It's like, hey, some business have like no shirt, no
yeah,
shoes.
sure, sure.
It's like, okay, this is just another version of it.
Oh,
You don't have a shirt on. We're not serving you. Get out of here.
no,
you
no.
know, and it's one of those like it's it's just got politicized
Yeah,
to a degree where it's
yeah.
just like, hey, if we had a different president in a different situation, like, no one would care about this.
No,
They'd be like,
no,
yeah, you got to wear a mask, do whatever. Like, nope,
no.
that's just the rules. Like,
Yeah,
you're supposed to wear a seat when you get in your car.
yeah,
We don't. I was like, okay, because it's one of those. I'm like, let's take this to crazy conclusions. I can make my decisions. I'm like, all right. Do you think drinking and driving should be legal?
yeah,
Like, that's a rule. You seem to like. There's a
yeah,
lot of rules that
yeah,
you can.
exactly.
Should you be able to just go, punch someone in the face with no consequence?
Yeah,
Like, that's a freedom.
yeah,
You could say I have the right to punch every human in the world.
yeah,
You don't. And
yeah.
to me, it's just like, all right, we're just being silly. Like we're fighting over things for no reason.
No,
And
I'm with you.
yeah, to me, it's just like, hey guys, hey, we can have different viewpoints on things. Totally cool. I'm down in debate. But when we're just doing dumb stuff, you're like, all right, this is just dumb.
No,
Like this isn't a debate. We're just
no,
doing dumb things.
no.
And I don't know if I forgot if it was the governor. It's either Arkansas or Alabama. I should know more exactly, but two A Southern states,
Yeah,
I kind
let's
of get
not
them
get
mixed
too
up.
particular about it.
But he was like, he regrets that
Arkansas.
he
That was Arkansas.
signed
Asa
a no
Hutchinson.
mask.
Yeah.
Yeah. The mandate, like no mask mandates, and now it's like your state's on fire with
Yeah.
COVID.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my gosh, I want to repeal this. It's like now you can't because
Yeah.
now your state governing will not put it up.
Yeah.
Right? You signed that
Yeah.
law. It's a law.
It's a law.
Dog. It is, and they will not let you take it back.
No.
And his response was, well, at the time, we didn't have a lot of COVID. I'm like, bro, at the time doesn't make this sound better,
No.
right? The potential that this could come back was quite known.
Yeah.
Right.
No, it's
like, so it sounds foolish being like, well, back then I didn't think it was a problem. You're like, well, what's the upside of this? Like, literally, what's the upside?
Yeah. Culture to me, like, I saw him come out. On the one hand, it's like, okay, you're admitting you made a mistake. But to your point, like, you're a legislator. You sign laws. You know how irreversible this stuff is. Like, you're not going to get your Republican state legislature to undo this. They're crazier than you are. Like, you sign that law, if there's another wave. Like you said, like, the scenario analysis here isn't that complex. What if there's another wave of COVID that means everyone's going to get it because no one's getting vaccinated in your state? Well, what tools do you want available to you? Not masks? Like, not pieces of cloth that prevent spread? I don't know. To me, I'm like, and honestly, the Netherlands, it's a very libertarian style place, man. People want their freedom. It's in terms of mask usage, it was one of the lower ones in Europe, but in public transit, it's required. In places required. It's just not a culture war. It's kind of seen as like an inconvenience that's for the public good. People don't like doing it. They don't want to do it. They do it. We do it. It's not required in stores here anymore and stuff like this. But ultimately, it's not like a big war about it. It's just like, okay, cool. Like, it's just something like we all don't like doing it, and we're all gonna not do it together. I mean, we're all gonna do it together, and not like doing it together. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's just not that.
I mean, that's my approach. Like, whatever, I wear masks, all around. But it's like, hey, I would like to go to the grocery store and not have to wear a mask. I'm like, but those are the rules, and it's okay. Like, it is a slight inconvenience to put this thing on my face for the 20 minutes I'm in the grocery store or whatever. Like, it's mostly a slight inconvenience, right? I'm like, the cost benefit is so easy to decide here. I'm like, all right, I don't get it. But
I don't know.
that's the COVID talk. At the
All
rate
right,
we're going,
all right.
hopefully in October, we're not just like every more and more hospitalizations. Fingers crossed we don't get another variant because Delta is making our vaccines less effective. I personally got the J&J, so I don't know when or if I should get a booster. That's another thing for another day. We got to figure out. So to me, it's just like this COVID story, man. it just has nuances. We're going to be unpacking every month.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, well, now there's the F variant, and the previous vaccines don't work.
Yeah.
So we're all the way shut down again. Can't go outside your house. Like,
Man,
it's crazy, man.
I don't know what the world holds, but I agree with you. It will be a theme. But then let's jump in. It's some awesome tech news. So it was today. It was today. So
So today for you, maybe today o'clock for you.
Okay.
Yesterday o'clock
It was
for me.
last
If
night.
I know where you're going
It
with
was
this.
last night. So lead us in here. It's the Apple news.
Yeah. No, you got it, bro. Get a setup. I'll get the commentary.
We've been talking about this in the podcast, which is Apple's App Store and in-app payments. And Apple takes between a 15 and 30% cut of all the payments. And there's litigation around it between Epic and Apple. There's other companies that have tried to get around this and get banned from the App Store. And the big question is, like, can you offer other payment methods in the iPhone? And what they came out today or yesterday, I guess, in North America and said, all in-app purchases will still have the same cut, and you can't, Jeremy, if I'm correct, in the app propose an alternative payment mechanism, but you can use the contact details of the app installer to message separately and say, hey, if you pay your subscription on my website off the App Store platform, if you pay in another way, we can give you a different price, and you're not going to pay the Apple tax. Is that a fair summary?
Yeah. From the write up, obviously we're still working through this,
right.
But that is my conclusion. It's like a nope. You cannot have a button in your store. You can't have a dialogue. You can't send a push notif like on the device or app itself. You can't let people know about this. But if you have, to me, this mostly regards to email. Right. It also could include phone numbers, right? You could say, give me your phone number and text you about this deal. But at least in America, a few companies do that are only for specific things because there's a lot of, text message law, spamming, things you have to abide by, that it's like, all right, this isn't worth the trouble to abide by all these laws or the payments we might have to have if we, don't properly manage our text messages. But yeah, it's mostly, I'm gonna send you an email, say, go to my store, get 15% more X coins or a 15% discount on your subscription or whatever it is. And I think for, companies like our company, I think I was the first person in our company to saw this. As soon as the press release went out, I'm like, all right, message, email. I'm like, hey, we've got a lot of games that do have their own versions on the web. You guys should immediately get ready to message out like, hey, go purchase over here. Because one, we sell larger packages. So for some games, people want to pay more than $100, which is the Apple limit, right? Because we generally give you more currency per dollar the higher package you purchase, right? And I could see this, depending on your subscription, it can be the same. Like you get more of either, if you're a streaming video app, right, you can get more concurrent streams for a higher package than others. So there's an easy upsell. And on the other side, for most businesses, you get a much better bottom line impact because instead of paying 30%, you're like, I pay Stripe 3%.
Right.
So I want every purchase to go through my website because I can make my cash flow look significantly better if I can get y'all to purchase on my website than instead of using the App Store.
Do you think this concession is enough for Epic and other litigants to drop legal action?
Definitely not.
No, right? Yeah.
No, the Epic thing is still going. Like Epic's already responded. Like this is a small concession because I think Apple and Google hasn't responded yet. They're both trying to do as much as they can to delay what I think is probably going to be inevitable of opening up their platforms to some degree. Exactly how, I don't know, right? Like I think that's a lot of possibilities, but more is going to be more than now. Right? That is definitely the answer. More than whatever the policy is now. And I think this is a baby step, but I think Amy Klobuchar and a couple others in the U.S., other senators, another bill proposed of like, hey, you need to open the stores up more. You need to open the stores more. And it's, it's pretty late on allowing this, right? So even if we said today you can do it, it's like, all right, well, it's going to take a lot of time to get new accounts on your own thing and get people to not just pay through Apple because it's convenient, right? You're like, hey, I got Apple Pay, boop, boop, make 2 clicks, hit this button, everything's saved. Like I don't have to install, put my credit card or anything else. So it's convenient. I think we all would agree. But I think the story from, the Epic end and everyone else is like, okay, if it is that convenient and that's your fee, then compete,
Yeah.
right? Like if it has that much value, then let that be expressed in the marketplace.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that I think is where we're ultimately going to end up at some point. I can't tell you if that's 2022, 2025, like who knows. But I think the argument of we bring value on the opposite side, you're like, okay, show it. Right?
I
Like
agree.
there's no test of we're bringing value right now because you don't allow competition.
The best sort of exemplar of value is user choice, right? And like if you force the choice that you're not demonstrating the value, this is one where I think on the one hand you could look at it and say, what fraction of purchases based on this announcement will be rerouted? And to your point about, if that's the only in-app vector and so forth, it might be a small percentage. But I think it's bigger than that, as you say, because I think in these situations, this is the first crack in the wall. And that is incredibly important. Like they're doing this because they are up against legally, both in the courtroom and in Congress, they're up against it. And I think this is a really big, it'll be the first step in an more open platform competition for payments on these platforms. I do think so. We'll see how it goes, but I was excited to see it. I'm always excited to see a really big monopoly firm get a little bit of a step back. You know what I mean? And
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you work in tech too. Like, I'm
yeah,
sure you're just like, all right, how are we going to take advantage of this?
for
Is this
sure.
everything we want? No.
No.
Does this give us an inch? Yep. And how do we
Yeah.
take this inch?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a constant war because, we're fighting things in all angles. I don't know how it is for your business, but like the IDFA change and the
Oh my goodness.
privacy change on there is like, okay, advertising world now is completely different. Like measurement, we're figuring out how to measure things that we can measure before, right? And it's like, hey, this world is resetting frequently, right? It's not a steady state of like,
No.
hey, we're Delta. We fly people around the world.
Right.
You're like, okay, maybe you can make a better app. Maybe there's a new plane, but you're still flying.
Ultimately, you're
There's
just
no just
flying.
like, you're not gonna know what people getting on the plane. So
No.
if you want to provide them benefits, you can't. It's like, what? Like, there's no shakeups in industries like digital industries. We're just like, all right, well, Apple just decided we can't track people. So how do we get new users
It's
profitably?
it's wild how uncertain the future of these platforms is in terms of the advertising ecosystem. Like, yeah, I do deal with it on a daily basis, as do you. And what's interesting to me is like there are so many solution paths to privacy, but the markets have not converged. But they're unlike it was in 2010 or 2005, where these are immature advertising markets with unsophisticated attribution mechanisms, as you might say. There's billions of dollars being spent, and you might just go blind to your spend. And it's like,
uh,
what happens, And I think we're gonna see. I think there'll be a lot of there's a lot of jobs in this space, but it'll be exciting. But this aspect of it is in there too, and so it's the how these app stores develop. What's clear is the old argument, which is you have a choice between Android and Apple, and that's why we don't need to regulate this. It's nonsense. It's a nonsense argument. Once you have that phone, the store has a monopoly on you, and that needs to be accepted.
yeah, like I think I got my first iPhone was maybe iPhone 4 or something because I was
Mm.
like all team Android before. It
Yeah,
was, I like Windows. I'm like have a
yeah,
choice, and then
yeah.
I was like, all right, well, let me try this Apple device. And yeah, I'm on I don't know my fourth, fifth iPhone. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, man, this is just I just like how this works. I don't even know how I'd convert my data over to Android.
No,
I'm sure I could,
no.
Google it up and figure it out. I'm like, but I'm a pretty technical person. Like, if my mom wanted to
Yeah.
go from an
You're locked
iPhone
in.
to Android, she'd be like, nope, sounds like work. Not gonna do that.
No,
you
no.
know, Once you're in, you're kind of in. And I, it is definitely an interesting argument, And I've got some folks that work at Apple. I'm sure you probably know some too. And it's like, yeah, this is while they are both smartphones, I agree. To say that they're just a 100% replacement for
No,
one another is like, no,
no,
data portability is not that easy.
no,
Purchases do not transfer,
no.
right? I have to buy everything again. So unless it's a server-based subscription product where I am not hey, I just have it with you, Apple. I have it with this other entity that is you're in a mediating for. It's like, no, I lose all my stuff if I want to go over there. So yeah, it's not one for one. We'll probably be talking about this forever. And the crazy thing is, I don't know how I don't see how a third player can get into this unless it's the open web or something. This is too defined now. Microsoft tried, they bailed out, they will never try again. No point in doing it. They will just adopt Android, or at the craziest case, fork some version of Android to make it a Windows OS, but it will be based on Android.
Yeah,
it will not be
Windroid, they called it when I was there. And people tried Cyanogen. I don't think it's going to happen. This got to be a topic we follow up on. But unfortunately, Jeremy, I'm at dinner time over here, so.
And I got to get to work, brother.
There you go.
A great time for our random topic day here, our potpourri.
Potpourri day on Last Week Chopped Up. Well, we thank all our shoppers, all our listeners out there for being with us. Remind you, if you're on the podcast platform, hit subscribe so when a new episode comes, you get that push notification. Tell your friends about us. And with that, we will see you next week.
Catch you later, choppers.